I get it every time I'm scrolling through a dozen NAS listings. The pictures make the boxes look like sleek little servers that will magically turn my scattered family photos, work backups, and streaming library into a perfectly organized cloud. Then I finally click buy, the unit arrives, and the first thing I'm faced with is a sealed chassis and a pile of empty drive bays that feel more like a DIY project than a plug-and-play solution. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That moment of hesitation wondering if I've just spent a premium on a piece of hardware that will sit half-assembled on my desk forever is exactly why I'm breaking down the Synology DiskStation DS418 today. First off, the DS418 isn't just an NAS you throw in a corner and forget about. It's designed for people who actually want to run a small server at home, whether that means serving media to a living room TV, keeping a reliable backup of a laptop and a few phones, or even hosting a modest personal website. If you've ever tried using a generic router-attached USB drive and found the experience clunky slow uploads, no easy way to share files across devices, and a constant worry about data loss, this is the kind of upgrade that can change the game. But it's not for everyone, and that's where the nuance comes in. Let's talk about the setup experience because that's where a lot of buyers trip up. The DS418 ships in a sealed box with the chassis, power brick, and a quick start guide. There are no hard drives pre-installed, which is standard for Synology, but can be surprising if you expected an out-of-the-box. Just plug in a USB stick and go. You'll need to buy 4 2TB drives, or whatever capacity you prefer, separately and snap them into the bays yourself. The process is straightforward. Open the front panel, slide the drives in, and secure them with the little screws. If you've never installed a drive before, it feels a bit like building a mini PC, but the instructions are clear, and the whole thing takes about 10 minutes. Once the drives are in, you fire up the unit, connect one of the 2 gigabit Ethernet ports to your router, and launch Synology's DiskStation Manager, DSM, from a web browser. DSM is where the magic happens. The first thing I noticed is how intuitive the interface is. No cryptic command lines, just a clean dashboard that shows storage usage, active services, and health alerts. I set up a shared folder for family photos, enabled the PhotoStation app, and within minutes I could access the album from my phone, tablet, and smart TV without any extra configuration. That kind of just works experience is a huge win over the fiddly SMB shares you get on cheaper NAS alternatives. Now, let's dig into the real-world performance. The quad-core 1.4 GHz CPU isn't a monster, but for a 4-bay home server it's more than adequate. When I streamed 1080p movies from the NAS to my living room TV over Wi-Fi, there were no buffering hiccups, even when other devices were active on the same network. Backups of a 500 GB laptop using Synology's Hyper Backup took roughly the same time I'd expect from a direct USB 3.0 connection, which tells me the internal bus and network handling are well optimized. If you're looking to transcode 4K video on the fly, the DS418 will start to feel its limits. The CPU can handle a couple of 1080p streams, but will struggle with higher resolutions or multiple concurrent transcodes. So, if your primary need is 4K media server duties, you might want to consider a model with a more powerful processor. One hidden trade-off that shows up after a few weeks of use is the RAM. The unit comes with 2 GB of DDR4 non-ECC memory, which is fine for basic file serving and a couple of apps. But when I enabled several additional packages, surveillance station for a few IP cameras, download station for torrenting, and a Docker container for a personal website, the system started to feel a bit sluggish during peak usage. Upgrading the memory is possible, but you have to purchase a compatible module and open the chassis again, which adds a small extra step. If you're planning a heavily loaded setup with many active services, budgeting for a memory upgrade from the start would be wise. Another practical consideration is the dual LAN ports. They are not just for redundancy. You can configure link aggregation for faster network throughput, which is a nice feature if you have a gigabit-capable switch. For most households, though, a single gigabit connection is more than enough. I set up a simple failover one port connected to my main router, the other to a secondary Wi-Fi mesh node, so if the router ever went down, my devices could still reach the NAS via the mesh network. That kind of resilience is something you rarely get with cheaper, single-port units. So, who should actually buy the DS418? If you're a power user who wants a reliable, low-maintenance home server that can grow with you, it's a solid choice. Think of families